Are you tired of always messing up your essays because of MLA? Well, I have the phrase that's going to end your MLA woes. Shift PC. Today, I'm walking you through the best and easiest hack for conquering all things MLA that you're ever gonna need. From how to do your spacing, set up your margins, finally get that pesky heading under control, and how to conquer and say parenthetical citation. I'm also going to go into what MLA specifically is, why knowing proper MLA format and style is so important. And as always, timestamps are in the description box below. So let's get into it with MLA what? First and foremost, MLA stands for Modern Language Association, and the association is nothing more than a professional organization that's going to promote the study and teaching of languages and literature, especially those written in English. Now, MLA, the guideline, is a tool or style that offers those guidelines for scholarly writing and documentation. This is what's called as that MLA format that your teachers are always talking about. Now, the actual association and the actual style was initially established in 1883. The overall goal of the organization was to tackle difficulties in modern language education because they were tired of students turning in papers and citing sources different ways. So they wanted a uniform, standardized approach for writing and also citing sources in academic papers. I kind of look at it like a group of English professors at Oxford, and they were so tired of these different fonts and sizes and quotation marks and underlines and just poorly written essay, so they decided to get together one day over a cup of brandy or tea and come up with MLA format. That's just my imagination. Now, MLA in its core just provides a clear roadmap for your writing, guys. It also provides a clear set of rules for how to cite sources in your academic papers. Now, this uniform approach is going to give your work a polished and consistent look across the board. MLA style always ensures that credit is given where credit is due, so it makes it the ultimate plagiarism buster. Now, MLA style is the go-to for all your literary and language arts fields. So any humanities course, any English course, any lit course, that's going to be MLA style. Your science and social studies, psychology courses, they're going to use either APA style or Chicago style, which we'll get to a whole series later. Long story short, MLA is the archetype. It's the backbone of creating top-notch research papers and essays. This ensures that you're correctly writing your essay, it's uniform, and most importantly, you're citing your sources and your work is nice and organized. Now let's move on to MLA. Why? There are 5 reasons why you need to learn MLA. 1, it promotes academic integrity. When you follow MLA, it ensures that students are giving proper credit to the original authors of the sources they find and use in any form. Another reason why MLA is so important is because it establishes clear communication because it provides a standardized format for writing papers. This makes it easier for both the writer and the reader to navigate and understand the content in an actual paper. Another reason why MLA is so important is because it establishes and sets professionalism. Employers and colleges value written communication skills. They know that when a paper is written in MLA format, it's going to demonstrate a level of professionalism and attention to detail that can be beneficial in the future in both academic circles and your professional endeavors. Another reason why it's so important is because it's good college and career prep. A lot of colleges and universities and career fields require the use of a formatting citation style like MLA. So learning it now in high school gives you a head start and an advantage. And the ultimate reason why you need to learn MLA is so that you can avoid plagiarism accusations. When you understand MLA and how it functions, how it flows, how it works, this is going to help you avoid those unintentional plagiarism accusations by teaching you how to properly cite and reference all of your sources. And that's why MLA is so important. So now that you know the what of MLA and the why MLA is so important, let's get into just how you master MLA. And I have a simple word for you: Shift PC. Spacing, head, indent, font, text, and parenthetical citation. And to learn about how this acronym works, let's head to my computer. So the first letter in my MLA hack, Shift PC, stands for S for spacing. Spacing in MLA format is two things. First, you have to have 1-inch margins, and the entire paper must be double spaced. So you need to have 1 inch from the top, 1 inch from the bottom, as you can see here. You want to make sure you have 1 inch from the right side and 1 inch from the left. In your page header, it just has to be a half a margin, and then you want to make sure that you indent half an inch in from the 1 inch margin. Now that's a lot, I'll be the first to admit, but the good part about Google Docs and Microsoft Word is that it automatically has those presets to top, bottom, left, right, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. So you never have to worry about setting the margins. The only thing you have to do is to make sure that you're properly double spacing in your paper. And let's go to my computer to work that out. The first thing you want to do is go ahead and hit Control A if you're on if you're on a Windows, and you want to do Command A if you're on a MacBook. This is going to basically do the entire spacing for the entire document. And from there, you're just going to go right here to where it says line and paragraph spacing. All you got to do is just go here and then click double space. Next letter in Shift PC MLA hack is H for head. And this is referring to the page heading, the page header, and also the page title. Let's first talk about the page heading. And to do that, let's go to my computer. First, let's cover the page heading. In MLA style, the page heading is right here in this area right here, and it's 4 lines of specific information in a specific order. And let's go over it. The first thing you want to make sure is you have your name, first and last. I like to put my middle initial on there, but once again, it's your paper. Just make sure you always have your first and last name. Full name, no initials or anything like that for your first name or your last name. The next thing you want to have is the professor's name. The professor could have you put their first and last name. They could have you put their first name, middle initial, last name, or they could even have you put their title, like so. The third line of the MLA heading is you want to have the course name. And then the last and the trickiest part is the date. MLA requires that the date be inverted. So that means you're going to have the day first, the month spelled out, not in all caps, and then you want to have the 4-digit year. So it should look like this. Now, if you notice, Google Doc was trying to do the traditional month, day, comma, year format. And sometimes we automatically just let it do it. But in MLA, you have to make sure that it's the day first, the month spelled completely out, and then you have the year. And then you want to hit enter one time after the date. And then you want to hit it one more time. And now let's talk about the title. The title of your essay should always be centered. And remember, it should not have any bold. It should not have any italics. Short of a comma, it shouldn't even have any punctuation at all, especially exclamation points. Never, ever, ever, ever put an exclamation point in your title. Now, your title must be centered. So how do we center the title? You want to hit You want to hit Control Shift E or Command Shift E if you're on a Mac, and then you just simply type the title. Now, notice here that the first word of the title must always be capitalized. Of course, and any words that are 4 letters or more must be capitalized. Also, articles like a, and, of, at, if they're not the first word of the title, they must be lowercase and not capitalized. After you type the title, here's another tip. You want to hit enter just one time. And then you want to make sure that you move your cursor back to here. And how do you do that? You just hit Control Shift L to go to the left, or Command Shift L to go to the left. Now, to access the header of your document, there are 2 ways to do that. Let's go over way number 1. The first way is through the menu button. So you would go here, Insert, and then you have headers and footers, or you even have page numbers. I like to do header and footer. So you have header, and as you can see, it's automatically on the left because that's the way your paper's defaulted. So I would like to go ahead and just type the 2 requirements in my page header, my last name and the page number. So I'm going to go here, and then bam, I'm going to hit space. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to options, and I'm going to hit page numbers, header, footer, check, show on first page, check, starting at number 1, hit apply, and then bam, it's right there. However, I have to move it to the right. Same keyboard shortcut. I can either go Control Shift R for the right, or I can just go here to align and move it to the right. And then bam, I just come back, hit my cursor right here, and now I have my head completely done. I have my header, I have my heading, and I have my centered title, and I've made sure that my cursor from my first paragraph is back to the left, and I've indented it. And that is heading in a nutshell. Let's now go to the next letter, which is indent. Indent requires 2 things. You want to make sure that you always indent every single paragraph. You also want to make sure that you do your hanging indentions for your works cited entries, which we'll get to when we talk about PC, parenthetical citation. Now, in MLA, there are 3 actually acceptable fonts because MLA just requires that you have an easily type face. Now, that could be Times New Roman, that could be Arial, or that could be Calibri. Let's look to see how all 3 look on a document. Now, as right now, you see it's automatically set to Arial. And Arial, as you can see, the T's, or the tops of the C's and the F's and even the N's, they are just smooth. Versus now Calibri, looking at Calibri. Calibri is still a good font. However, it's a little bit small than Arial. I think this is why Times New Roman is the most accepted font, because if you look at Times New Roman, you see here it's clearly got some separation in your capital letters. So the N's, the L's, and the W's, even the S's and the B's, they all have this little shelf at the top. And there's just something about that shelf at the top of the letters that just looks good when you are printing a work off. So to change the font, because as you know, Google Docs automatically sets to Arial or Calibri, you're just going to go Control A or Command A, and you'll simply change the font to Times New Roman. Now, in regards to the font size, MLA Handbook 9th edition states that it should be between 11 and 13 font size. So we go with 12 because it's right in the middle. 11 is a little too small. And if we go to 13, it's just a little too big. So 12 is just right. Now, if you notice right here, it changed when I hit Control A. It changed it in the body of the text, but it did not change it here in the header. The header is still in Arial. So to change it, we actually have to go into the header and change the font. And then bam, we now have a great MLA paper that is spaced correctly. It's double spaced. The page heading is correct with all 4 pieces of information. The header is correct and put on the right side of the paper per requirements. Our title is centered and properly capitalized, and we've indented our first paragraph. That's S for spacing, H for head, I for indent, and F for font. Now let's go to the next letter, T, where we're talking about how we format the actual text in our essay. When we talk about text, we are literally talking about how we format our titles of works that we are citing in our prose or essay, and also how we format numbers as well as specific words. We do this for 3 primary reasons. One, when you have a uniform system of how to format your titles and your numbers, it's going to create clarity. It also will create precision. And lastly, it's going to provide some emphasis between major works and the minor works underneath them. Now, in your prose or essay, most titles should always be italicized or they're going to be enclosed in quotation marks. It's either or. Now, there are certain works that always must be italicized. So we're talking about your books, major plays, the titles of newspapers, journals, magazines, specifically epic poems, films, or motion pictures, websites, apps, and the rest of this list you see here. As you can see here in this essay, you have here this major film, The Amazing Spider-Man. Normally, you probably would put that in quotation marks, but because it is a major film, you want to make sure that you put it in italics. Remember, we're talking about that emphasis between works. Another example you have here is epic poems. Typically, we think of poems and we want to link them with short stories, but no, because it's an epic poem or like a book, you want to make sure it is also italicized. Now, minor works, however, should be in quotation marks. So when we talk about minor works, we're talking about your journal articles. So the article within the journal, the article within the magazine. If you're talking about a collection of essays, the actual essay in that collection or anthology would be in quotation marks. Your short stories, your poems, the titles of chapters within a book would be in quotation marks, along with the website page, the TV episode of the TV series, song, music video, or lecture. And as you can see here in the example, we literally have a magazine article in quotation marks, 17 manipulation tactics abusers use. So that takes care of the titles. Now let's move on to how we format and write numbers in essays. Second part of T, now that we've got titles out of the way, are numbers. And MLA, as you would expect, has a specific rule for numbers. And essentially, it's you spell numbers out. So you typically spell out numbers when all the numbers are under 10, when you have rounded numbers, ordinal numbers that are less than the 10th. So, for example, the 38th Battalion was sent to war zone for the 4th time. 4th is less than 10. And then you want to spell out common fractions. So it's not 1/3, it's 1/3. You want to spell out universally accepted usage. So to date, I've only seen 7 of the wonders of the world, or 2 of the 7 of the wonders of the world. Notice 2 and 7 are spelled out. Of course, this is completely not the way we normally write, informally as well as talk, because who spells out numbers when they talk? But in MLA format, you got to. Also, when numbers begin a sentence, title, or a heading, you want to either rewrite the sentence if possible or spell it out. So, for example, it's not 75% of the rental properties. How about students occupied 75% of the rental properties? And lastly, you want to spell out numbers when the approximate numbers and then sometimes of the day. So a quarter of this year's rushing freshmen are the first in their family to attend college. Now, you want to use digits for when it's the opposite. So it's numbers 10 and above. So I counted 3,968 books. He was the 12th in line. specific numbers in a series if placed one after the noun. So it's volume 5, chapter 6, page 45, act 2, scene 4. In those instances, you would use the digit for that. And then, of course, I have the rest of these. Feel free to pause and grab those and put them in your memory bank somewhere. And then we'll continue on with the next letter, the most important letter, parenthetical citation. And now we've come to the last part of my MLA Shift PC hack. PC stands for parenthetical citation. And that's just a fancy way of saying in-text citation, which essentially means how do you handle the sources within your text. So you're probably asking, what must you cite? And in a word, you gotta cite everything. I'm talking about any direct word by word quote, anything that you decide to summarize or paraphrase, any work that you refer to either in part or as a whole, and then lastly, any research, theories, ideas, arguments, visuals, images, tables, graphs, or statistics that you did not create or create out of your mind, you have to cite. So your works cited page is that list. It's that complete list of all the sources cited in the text. And it's always the last page. Now, while it is extensive, it's a specific yet pretty easy and simple step to follow. Now, on your works cited page are a list of sources. And there are 9 specific items within a works cited entry. So the first thing we have is the author. Common sense. Next, we have the title of the source. Then we have the title of container, followed by other information about the source, like the contributor, the version, the number, the publisher, the publication date, and then last but not least, the location. All 9 of these entries could appear in one single source. However, if the source doesn't have the specific item, it doesn't have to include it. So now let's look at each item that appears in a works cited entry. The first thing we have is the author. So, of course, it's always going to be a specific format, last name of the author, comma, first name of the author. So the second item is the source. So the source is literally the source that you are referencing in your text. So it could be a standalone book, The Canterbury Tales. It could be a chapter or a section of a book if you only use that particular part. So as you can see here, I have the title, I have my author right here, and then I have the title of my source all in his head. Now moving on to number 3, which is the container. The container is just where the source is contained. Container. So for example, the web page about the memorial is contained in 9/11 Memorial Museum. The article, Architecture, a Tool for Human Segregation, is contained in Art and Culture Events /level. So the contributor is anybody that it's important enough for I, the reader of your essay, to know noteworthy contributions from someone that's not the actual author. So anybody that edited the text that you're citing, anybody that did an introduction that you're using, anybody that translated it, made illustrations that you're referencing, or even narrated an actual specific work, you want to make sure you give them credit for that. Next up is the version and the number, and that's just pretty much what it says. Version refers to the version of the text, the edition, or the volume. Andy Berger's article, All in His Head, was in Discover magazine, but it was in the 37th volume, number 5. 7 refers to the name of the publisher. So, for example, Kalmbach Publishing, or right here, Pearson. All right, so number 8 on the list is the publication date. So that was when the work was published. And the last is the location. The location is where the text is actually held. So there you have it, the Shift PC MLA hack. Hopefully this video helped you guys to understand and master MLA. As always, make sure that you save this video for future reference, and remember, embrace your inner geek, guys. There is nobody as unique as you are. I'll catch you next time. Peace.